Bruce, you must have something really good too.
Of course I do. It's Bruce Danielson, and I guess I'm here to entertain you too.
And welcome to Carnegie Town Hall. I call this meeting of the Sioux Falls Planning Commission to order. I would like to emphasize a couple of items. Out of courtesy for everyone, please silence all electronic devices. We look forward to hearing testimony from everyone tonight and appreciate you joining us. In an effort to have sufficient time to hear from audience members, we ask that when you come to the podium, please state your name and address for the record, and please limit your comments to no more than 5 minutes to allow everyone to speak tonight. At this time, we will consider the consent agenda. Denise, please read the items on the consent agenda.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Item 1, approval of the regular meeting minutes. Item 2, plats. Item 3, consent agenda petitions. 3A is petition 9588, 2018, rezoned from the RA2 Apartment Residential Moderate Density District to the RT2 Townhome Residential Traditional District for allowed forms located at the southwest corner of East 14th Street and South 2nd Avenue. Item 3B, petition 9663, 2018, rezoned from the RT1 Single Family Residential Traditional District to the RT2 Townhome Residential Traditional District for allowed forms located at 219 South Prairie Avenue. Item 3C, petition 9667, 2018, rezoned from the C2 Commercial Neighborhood and Streetcar District to the C3 Commercial Community District for allowed forms located at 7321 South Cliff Avenue. 3D, petition 9710, 2018, rezoned from the I1 Light Industrial District to the S2 Institutional Campus PUD District for allowed forms located at 2301 East 60th Street North. Item 3E, petition 9711, 2018, rezoned from the RS Single Family Residential Suburban District to the CN Conservation District for allowed forms located at 5101 West 5th Street. Item 3F, petition 9716, 2018, rezoned from the RR Single Family Residential Rural District to the CN Conservation District for allowed forms located at 8109, 8117, 8201, 8209, and 8217 West 41st Street. Item 3G, petition 9703, 2018, rezoned from the I1 Light Industrial District to the I2 Heavy Industrial District for allowed forms located at 4401 West 62nd Street North. Item 4, consent agenda approval.
Are there any objections from the audience on any of these items that they would like to have more discussion upon? Seeing none, are there any objections from the council? Okay.
Mr. Chair, I'm going to recuse myself on the consent agenda items.
Okay. And entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Mr. Chair, make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda as presented. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. If that was one of your items, you're free to leave at this time, but you're welcome to stay. Denise. Well, next thing on our agenda is approval of the regular agenda and entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the regular agenda.
Second.
It's moved and seconded to approve the regular agenda. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Yes. All opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you.
Item 6A, petition 9701, 2018, rezoned from the RD1 Twin Home Duplex Residential Suburban District to the O Office District for allowed forms located at 718 North Kiwanis Avenue or 2509 West 2nd Street.
Good evening, Halbert Schmidt, Sioux Falls Planning Office. The applicant would actually like to request a deferral to the February 6th Planning Commission meeting so that she can work closely with abutting neighbors to maybe look at expanding the project out.
Very good. Entertain a motion to defer this item number 6A.
Mr. Chair, make a motion to defer item 6A to the February meeting.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded to defer item 6A to the February meeting. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you.
Item 6B, petition 9434, 2018, conditional use permit to allow the St. Francis House to construct a permanent facility within 1,000 feet of single-family residential traditional district.
Jason Bieber, representing Planning and Development Services. This is an application by Julie Becker with the St. Francis House. The applicant is proposing to construct a new two-story building with roughly 60 beds for men and 60 beds for women. There will also be a portion in the center of the building that will have offices as well as some meeting spaces. The facility, as you can see, is within 1,000 feet of some single-family residential. The proposed transitional housing facility meets the Sioux Falls Comprehensive Plan. The St. Francis House is already established on the site, and the new plan would simply broaden their facility. With the new larger facility, it will be within 1,000 feet of single-family residential zoning districts. It is worth noting that the current facility already exists under the same conditions. Because the subject application is consistent with the Sioux Falls Comprehensive Plan and the required buffer yard should alleviate any incompatibilities between this use and the single-family residential uses to the east, staff does recommend approval of this application. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions from the commission? Seeing none, thank you, Jason. Is the petitioner here tonight? Please step forward, state your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, Julie Becker, Executive Director of the St. Francis House, 1301 East Austin here in Sioux Falls. Thank you for having me come and present again to the commission. A few things that I wanted to bring forward to you is from our last meeting is one of the concerns that the neighbors had was the lighting issues in our neighborhood. And with Jason's help, we've reached out to the city officials to have that studied and potentially address some additional lighting in the neighborhood. The other thing was some of the concerns that neighbors brought up regarding safety concerns of the people who are in our neighborhood but are not necessarily guests of the St. Francis House. So I wanted to just show here that we have, as an agency, reached out to Sioux Merchant Patrol, and we are going to be going into a contract agreement with them to have them patrolling the neighbors. And part of that process is actually they will reach out to each one of the neighbors that are in our neighborhood and give them their contact information. So if they are seeing something that we're not seeing that has nothing to do with St. Francis House, they have a go-to person to call to get out there to address that issue. So we'll be formalizing this as soon as we can get a contract signed by our board chair and be moving forward. So I wanted to bring that to the attention that we've been doing that work and trying to address those concerns of the neighbors. Another issue that was brought was the houses that we've purchased. And besides our main operations, we purchased our first home on Sherman Avenue in 2014 to provide additional housing for men that are staying within our facility. And that, of course, has been in an operation for 4 years. If you look at the drawing, after we did over a year of working with community stakeholders, is this the location that we should be in? What should we be doing? The big message that we had that we needed to change was to no longer provide emergency housing since Bishop Dudley opened, and they are providing that emergency. So that's why we went to transitional housing only. In that study, we also had feedback of this is the location that we needed to stay. So the first neighbor that we reached out to was on 8th Street there at 1302 East 8th Street. And that didn't happen until 2017. And so our board at that time had made the approval that in 2017 we could begin those discussions with the neighbor. We were in the process of purchasing that house when the neighbor next door at 1304 East 8th heard wind that we were purchasing their neighbor's house, and they reached out to us and said, hey, would you be interested in buying my house as well, because I want to downsize, my kids are grown and I want to go into an apartment. So we purchased that house as well. And we didn't close on the last house at 1306 East A Street until January of 18. And that, the agreement that we had is that each one of the people that we purchased the home from, they could stay in that home until they found a different place to live. And Dave, the last homeowner, he didn't move out until May of 18. So we didn't take ownership to occupy that until May of this year. So it's only been a short time we've had that. Each person that is in those 3 homes knows that our intent is to, first of all, try and move those homes out if we can, and we've been working on that since the last meeting. And if that doesn't come to fruition, we've already reached out to Rocky, the executive director at Habitat for Humanity, and he's going to come in and strip out the home to be able to utilize that at the restore. And then, you can kind of chuckle, but the Sioux Falls SWAT team wants to do a training before we go to demolition phase. And our hopes is to break ground on April 1st.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the commission? Hearing none, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak to this item? Seeing none, entertain commission action.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion for approval of
6B.
I'm still getting used to this new agenda, 6B.
I second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve item 6B. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Chair, I'm going to support this. It's consistent with the conditional use requirements, meets a community need, and there's a commitment to be good neighbors, and I think that's reasons for supporting this as proposed.
And I agree with Commissioner Paulson on this, that I really appreciate Ms. Becker's working with the city on the lighting, going into a contract with maybe Sioux Merchant Patrol, if that's possible, for additional security. She's going above and beyond of what they really need to do, so, and we really appreciate that.
Any other discussion?
Mr. Chair, I'd agree with Commissioner Paulson and Commissioner Gaspar. Very well said. Going above and beyond, being a good neighbor, makes these kind of decisions pretty clean cut.
So please pass that along to your board, Julie.
Okay, any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you.
Item 6C, petition 9734, 2018, conditional use permit for an off-sale alcoholic beverage establishment located within 500 feet of a sensitive land use located on the northeast corner of East 26th Street and North Highland Avenue.
The applicant here is Casey's General Store. The applicant is requesting a conditional use permit for off-sale alcohol with their proposed new store that is going to be constructed on the northeast corner of Highline Avenue and 26th Street. The site is approximately 150 feet east of Dolly Park and within the 500-foot buffer yard setback of Rosa Parks Elementary School, located just to the west. The proposed off-sale alcoholic beverage establishment meets the criteria of the comprehensive plan. This is an existing commercial corridor with commercial uses. They do have the required parking on site. The applicant has been in contact with the school district about the proposed off-sale alcohol use. Casey's has shared its security plan with the school and satisfied any questions and concerns that the Sioux Falls School District may have about the off-sale alcohol being so close to an elementary school. Because the application has provided clarity to indicate the location, nature, and extent of the work proposed, staff does recommend approval of this conditional use permit.
Any questions from the commission?
Jason, when they discussed it with the school district, was there anything said about the advertising? I know that we've done this in previous conditional uses, that they cannot that they don't advertise that there's beer for sale on the front marquee facing the school. Is there anything said about that?
That was not indicated in the email from Jeffrey Kreider with the school district. That was a requirement, so.
All right.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you, Jason. Is the applicant here this evening? Come forward, state your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. My name is Jared Sargent, and 1 Convenience Boulevard, Ankeny, Iowa. And to address your question, we did not have direct communication with the school on advertising questions. However, I think the consensus was that because it was an elementary school and not a high school, the off-sale wasn't as big of a concern for them. But that's kind of where we got. I don't know about specific advertising.
Okay, and that was, like I said, we've done that previously. Your store, and actually it was one of your stores right across from the school for the deaf. That was one of the conditions there. I know the Hy-Vee on 26th Street, that was one of the conditions there. That's why I was asking that question. Okay.
Absolutely. I don't have any presentation tonight or anything, but I would be more than happy to answer any questions you have.
Okay. Any questions from the commission? Hearing none. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone in the audience who would like to address this item? Seeing none, entertain commission action.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve for discussion.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve for discussion. Any discussion?
So Commissioner Gaspar, are you thinking we should potentially enhance this a little bit with some language?
Because we have it others, I was thinking that, again, the school, I don't know, I thought it was being addressed with through the school district and their communications, but they must have decided not to. Can we bring the petitioner back up? Would you have an issue with that stipulation or that restriction is just on the marquee that there's no like alcohol for sale, beer? You can have the beer for sale and stuff like that.
Are you talking the temporary signs that we put up that
Yeah.
advertise different items?
Yeah, the temporary signs.
I don't think we would have a big issue with that. I would think that we would maybe want to have a firm answer on what we can and can't advertise before responding.
Okay, and that was just alcoholic beverages.
So alcohol only is the only thing you want to limit?
Yeah, it was the only thing that was on that list before.
I would think that we would be okay with that. I don't think we typically do advertise alcohol. There may be times like Super Bowl, stuff like that, the high sale event times, but I don't think it'll impair us from doing the site here.
Okay. Mr. Chair, I'd like to, well, we haven't, yeah, I'd like to add that stipulation then, is that what do you call it, the portable sign, the movable sign, doesn't advertise the alcoholic beverages?
Just so I get this clear, are you saying that the temporary signs that they place on the building, that they wouldn't be allowed to advertise alcohol?
Right.
Okay, and is that on all sides? Because if you look at the site plan, it looks like the main face of the building where they're probably gonna be advertising anything is actually facing away from the school. Does that make a difference?
It'd be just on the side facing the school.
So the west side of the building?
Yes.
So then.
I would think that would be more fair,
Okay.
Okay, do you want to phrase that as a motion of amendment?
Help me out, Jason.
Okay, so you want, okay, so you want to place a condition on the conditional use permit to not allow advertising of alcoholic beverages on the west wall of the building. How's that sound?
Yeah, school facing side of the building.
Okay, in which I wouldn't think they'd have an issue because I think most of their stuff is going to be on the south, so, okay.
I'll second that.
So that was a motion?
Yes, that was a motion.
Okay. And a second? So any discussion on the amendment before we vote on it? Hearing none. All those in favor of the amendment, adding the stipulation on the west side not to be advertising alcoholic beverages for sale, signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. The amendment is added. We still have the primary motion. Is there any other discussion for the primary motion as amended? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor signify by saying yes.
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 All opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you.
Item 6D, petition 9729, 2018, alternative site plan for an alternative parking plan located at 3507 South Duluth Avenue.
The applicant here is Brian Reitz with Mid-Continent Communications. The applicant is proposing to reduce the required number of parking spots that would usually be required for a building in the commercial zoning district. It's roughly a 13,400 square foot building once they do their proposed addition, and that would be required to have 45 parking stalls. And they're looking at providing 11 parking stalls on the south side of the building. The submitted concept plan does indicate the required setbacks for a commercial zoning district at 10 feet. As I indicated before, they would be required 45 parking spaces if we did the 1 to 300 for a normal office building. The applicant is proposing those 11 parking spaces on the south side. They did complete a parking study with the facility and indicated that this will now, instead of their normal offices that Mid-Continent had there where they had people coming in, this is actually going to be turned into an unmanned data facility. A technician will come to the site periodically for maintenance, but they won't have any employees specifically working at this site. And then other data centers within the city of Sioux Falls, we've actually zoned I-1, kind of called them a warehouse, where the parking requirements was 1 to 1,500. If this specific property could be zoned I-1, they would have difficulty meeting the setbacks. But if it could be zoned I-1, they would only be required 9 parking spaces, which we would traditionally have for these data warehouses. And as I indicated before, they are providing 11, which is more than they'd be required on a normal data center. The submitted parking plan does meet the intent of the zoning ordinance. Communication data centers are typically developed under that light industrial category as indicated. The alternative parking plan would meet the required parking spaces for a normal data center at the 1 to 1,500 if it was zoned I-1 light industrial. However, as I indicated, they couldn't meet the setbacks just because this is an existing building in an existing developed neighborhood. Because the subject application meets the intent of the parking regulations of the zoning ordinance, and because 11 parking stalls will provide adequate space for the intended unmanned data center, staff does recommend approval of this application. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions from the commission? Hearing none. Thank you, Jason. Is the petitioner here? Would you come forward, state your name and address for the record, please?
Brian Rentz, Mid-Continent Communications, 409 East Switchgrass Trail, Brandon, South Dakota. The intent here is, this has been a multi-year project of moving staff personnel to a new facility that we'd constructed earlier to allow for the demolition of the office space and now construction of a data warehouse, basically a data center, if you would, to house the technology equipment that would basically provide services to all of our customers within Sioux Falls and their surrounding area. As stated earlier, we really do not have staff that is at this location other than to maybe make a few connections to connect new users, and usually this has happened in the middle of the night. So the intent of this is basically a lot of computer IT racks with some backup power supplies and cooling. So.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the commission? Seeing none, thank you, sir. Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak to this item? Seeing none, and entertain commission action.
Mr. Chair, motion to approve items, what are we, 6E?
Second?
There's a D.
Or is it D?
I have 6D.
6D, excuse me.
Okay.
And
the second zero is okay with 6D? Okay,
I am
very
okay
good.
with 6D, yep.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, item 7, public input on non-agenda items, 5-minute comment period per individual.
Is there any input from audience members on non-agenda items? Seeing none, we'll close that open conversation period. Last item on our agenda is election of officers.
Mr. Chair, I have several motions to propose regarding the election of officers item on our agenda. The first motion I would make is to say thank you to you for serving as our leader this past year, and so I propose that as a motion and expect I'll get a second and concurrence.
I'll second the thank you motion, Commissioner Paulson.
Yes, thank you, Sean.
You bet. I don't think we need to vote on that particular one unless you guys object, but let's move on to the next one, John.
The next motion is to propose that we cast a unanimous ballot to have Larry Lukey serve as our chair next year. I'll make that as a motion.
And I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded to cast a unanimous ballot for Larry Lutke for next year's chair. Any discussion?
That'll teach him to go on vacation.
Yes.
After this meeting.
Very good. All those in favor signify by saying yes.
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 All opposed, no. Motion carries.
All right. My next motion is to propose that we cast a unanimous ballot to have Sharon Chanto serve as our vice chair next year.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to casting unanimous vote for Sharon Chantos for vice chair next year. Any discussion? Hearing none?
Another excellent choice.
Very good. Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying yes.
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 All opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you. I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
We're adjourned. Thank you. Make it a great night.